I am at one of the local hometown veterans monuments, and I am standing here at this place on purpose because if there is a war between the US and Venezuela, a real one, then it will be more names of Americans on obelisks like the one behind me. I'm just showing you I am very well aware of what the consequences are of an American war with Venezuela. And also, I still truly believe that the US is not going to do a real war with Venezuela. They're not even going to do some 30 days of airstrikes and 4 days of ground war like in Desert Storm. I don't even think that's going to happen. Yes, there have been airstrikes on boats off the coast. Yes, but those are easy targets. Those are low-level peons. They're not doing real damage to Maduro. Yes, all these American ships are sitting there in the Gulf, hanging out, being threatening, but that's an intimidation tactic. If they were actually going to get rid of Maduro, they would have started airstriking the absolute shit out of that country, at the very least like Libya and Syria, years before US ground troops went into any of those places. And that has not happened yet. The 90 days for the president to do shenanigans is going to pass for most of these vessels. Now, there's been a lot of debate. Are they fishermen that have been getting blown up, or are they drug traffickers? Here's the thing, they could be both. Honestly, they could be both. Both things could be true. As far as the small boats, the wooden boats, those guys might really have been fishermen. And because it's Venezuela, drugs rule that economy. Drugs is the number one manufacturer and the number one export from that country, other than refugees. They could have been both. They could have been fishermen and supplementing their income as mules. Maybe they had a choice to do that. Maybe they were press ganged into it by the local assholes. All of these are possibilities. However, the drug submarine that got sunk in October, come on guys, that was not fishermen. Fishermen don't have submarines, end of story. And what's even more wild about that is on October 28th, the survivors from the submarine were repatriated to Venezuela by the DOD. I'm not going to say the Department of War until Congress actually does it. All right, it's the DOD. Sorry, Pete. So that is the truth about the airstrikes. They could have been fishermen, and they could have really been drug traffickers for real, at least mules. Both things can be true. Now, let's go back to all of the Trump administration's intimidation tactics. I think Maduro is going to call his bluff, but let's just say that Trump's pressure wins and he gets Maduro to leave, and they do some kind of a coalition power sharing agreement with the opposition parties. Maria Corina Machado will make any deal with Chavismo as long as she is in power somehow. Just like she made a deal with Juan Guaido's interim government back in 2019 and stopped criticizing him collaborating with the regime so that some of her people could get positions in Guaido's government. I know one of Maria Corina's people was Vanessa Newman. She was an ambassador in South America, I think to Chile, I could be mistaken. I don't think Maduro's going anywhere. And even if he does, it would not be a positive change for the country, because if just Maduro leaves, only him, that leaves Diosdado Cabello as next in line. And then after him is Jorge and Delcy Rodriguez, and they are just as bad. Getting rid of Maduro in exchange for Diosdado Cabello, that will not be a step up for Venezuela. You have to go after the entire Chavista regime. You have to dismantle that regime the same way the National Socialist regime was dismantled brick by brick in 1945. Otherwise, that cancer will come back within 20 years. Within 5 years if the opposition parties are in charge, because they're weenies. And the United States is not ready for that kind of commitment. And nation building takes 50 years. Germany, Japan, South Korea have shown us it takes about 40 years for countries to start figuring out democracy after coming from a dictatorship or from a major war. We were only in Afghanistan for 20 years. There were really good changes in that society, but it wasn't enough. Nation building takes 50 years, and Uncle Sam is not ready. Uncle Sam is not ready to be there for 5 years, and that's why I still don't think there's going to be a war between the US and Venezuela.